Greetings and thank you for coming out this morning. I want to begin by setting a little context. Approximately 6 months ago, in the heat of a political campaign in our nation, in our state received national attention when a couple of prosecutors, state prosecutors, were trotted out at a press conference by a political candidate to be flanked by a couple of sheriffs to announce that they were going to monitor political speech in our state in the midst of a political campaign. They were rightly called to task by that, by then Governor Blunt and many other folks, and as I said, earned national opprobrium for that unwarranted press conference that they had that had a chilling effect, and I believe was intended to have a chilling effect on Americans exercising their First Amendment freedoms. Late last week, with that as prologue, media outlets across our state broke the astonishing news about a report from the Missouri Information Analysis Center, or MIAC as it is called, entitled "The Modern Militia Movement." By title alone, one's imagination springs to life with images of commando renegades building outposts and stockpiling food in secluded wooded areas tucked away in mountainous terrain. And while this modern militia report did touch on such radical ideologies, as well it might have, it did so in footnote fashion as it pointed out Christians, anti-abortionists, and advocates for protecting our borders and supporters of certain political candidates as potential threats to the public safety. Now, let's be very clear. There are extremists, there are ultra-extremists in every group mentioned above, but not just in these groups. For instance, there is a growing and, in many cases, publicized reports of environmental extremism in our country, often resulting in corporate sabotage, property destruction by arson and bombings, and the murder of innocents. No mention of this very real crime appears in this report. To cite another example missing from the report, ultra-extreme adherents of one particular religion have declared war on our country and on our way of life, and have attacked our country with the largest loss of life in America since Pearl Harbor, and the largest loss of life ever on our shores in the last 100 years. These people are conducting camps to train terrorists, both in this country and abroad, to destroy our way of life. There is no mention of that kind of extremism and the threat that it poses to our liberties in this report, because apparently it's more important to focus on pro-lifers. Over the past few years, there have been increasing reports of terror contacts within Missouri, most notably at a trucking school in south central Missouri. There was no mention of this in the MIAC report. Are we to believe that people who advocate for conservative causes in our state are among the greatest threats to public safety? Department of Public Safety Director John Britt has sent what is being called in some quarters an apology letter, and I put that in quotations, but it appears to be nothing more than a notice of redaction. While the director does say he will remove references to political supporters of Ron Paul and Bob Barr, he does not address references to Christians, supporters of border security, nor pro-lifers. You cannot unring the bell. Conservatives are part of the backbone of America's fabric. We are not the threat, and that is why we are all one nation under God. Yesterday, Governor Nixon and Director Britt said they stand by the report. I want to be very clear here. I have the utmost admiration and respect for our law enforcement officers, the men and women who put their lives on the line for us every day. We all rely on public safety officials to keep us safe from those who would do us harm. I admire their devotion to service and their dedication to our state, and I have, over the last decade, attended enough of their funerals and weddings for a lifetime. But under the guidance of the present director, who apparently must think it is Nixon's Secret Service, the Department of Public Safety has taken on a new and sinister role of political profiling in the nature of making terrorists out of citizens who want nothing more than to freely voice their opinion as guaranteed by our Constitution and Bill of Rights. I asked, what other infringements on personal freedoms has the director overseen? Or what documents might be coming out of his department unread? What other similar documents have been created but not yet leaked to the media so that the people of Missouri can really know what's going on? Right now, we can only wonder. This morning, I am calling for Director Britt to be placed on administrative leave pending an investigation into this and other reports done by MIAC which may profile or demean Missourians belonging to specific political, religious, or social groups. There is no reason why Republicans, Libertarians, Democrats, Conservatives, Liberals, Atheists, Christians, pro-life, or abortion advocates, or vegetarians should be targeted because of certain beliefs which they hold dear. We also read this morning that Director Britt had not read the report in question before it was distributed to law enforcement. The director's failure to even read this report compounds my alarm over these broad brush sweeping generalizations about many conservatives. It is my hope that Director Britt will be put on leave until these allegations of profiling can be fully investigated. And I'm delighted to be joined by these members of the legislature, some of whom have been working on some of these issues for a long time, and I understand that in the budget process this afternoon, the House of Representatives will deal with an amendment or amendments on the floor that pertain to this. Missourians must know that we are keeping our state a safe place to live. But Missourians must also know that we are all protected by the freedoms that so many have fought to protect across the generations. Thank you. Questions?
You suggested that Islamic terrorists have done training within the United States. Can you explain that?
Well,
when and where that is?
Yeah, I mean, if you watch 2020 or the other news stories since 9/11, 2001, you will become aware that they had cells operating in upstate New York, in parts of the Mountain West. It's been in all the papers, and it is in the nature of effective intelligence work that we will not know for decades how many of these they've broken up. But I remember when former Governor and Senator Ashcroft was Attorney General between 01 and 05, they came down hard on some of these folks who were engaged in that kind of terror planning. And I'm certain that the FBI and other law enforcement agencies are all over this. But again, why would there be no mention of that when we've been living with this daily for 7.5 years?
Lieutenant Governor.